everyone. Welcome to D-Win. And let me get this up here. There we go. D-Win. I want to introduce the main man from the great state of New Jersey, the man with the greatest hair in the business, the solutionist himself, Sandy Cerami. Then we've got the president, good to see you, the president of J&L Marketing, Jamil Zabaneh, our digital marketing expert. We should just say marketing expert. We should take the word digital out. And then myself, I'm the CEO of J&L and the host of Move, Crush, Count, the podcast, which I'll throw in a lot of cheap plugs throughout this show for that. So, hey, we're excited today. We've got three great guests joining us. Arnold Gacita from Petrol Oil. We've got Greg May from Greg May Honda. And we've also got Wes Spence from, I want to make sure I pronounce this right, and he corrects me when he gets on here, but Waxahachie Autoplex. So absolutely three great guys, because our topic today is going to be about how do we maximize our profit opportunities? Where are we wasting opportunities or losing potential profit? And it's important, especially as our margins are starting to get pressured again, and we're out of that 3 to 4, month window of record profits that we kind of all experience. So having said that, let's do our intro video, guys, and then we'll bring our three guests on. Does that sound good?
Sounds great.
All right, let's get this show on the road, everybody. Welcome to D-Win. First off, this is a discussion amongst dealers, general managers, service managers, marketing managers. We want a lot of interaction, a lot of Q&A.
So we've got to be out there in the marketplace perpetually sharing the good news about what we've got to offer at our organization.
I mentioned cash flow. That's something that dealerships should start looking at, especially when PPP money starts running out, inventory starts getting tight, top line sales might start deteriorating a little bit. Just plan out your cash flow for 18 weeks and just keep it rolling and make sure there's no surprise down the line.
There's about 9 SKUs in tires that you need to keep in inventory, and you can satisfy 80% of the market. And that is another excuse that dealers, quite frankly, have used forever to not get into the business. You know, they take up too much space. I can't keep all the tires in stock. It's just not true.
We all know that growth is a state of mind, and you know, if you build the value, the growth will be there. But it's not necessarily anymore building the value in the product as much as it is in the process.
I think that's a monster opportunity.
All right. So let's unmute you guys. Jamil, I think you're muted. So, like we said earlier, we got three great guests we're about to introduce. I'll bring them on right now. Mr. Wesley Spence, Mr. Greg May, and last but not least, Mr. Arnold Gacita. Welcome, guys.
Thank you. Welcome.
So one of the things, you know, obviously the auto industry is an industry that feels a lot of pressure. The race to the bottom, I always say it's a tie. We're already all there. So upselling, cross-selling is important. I think when you look at a lot of different business verticals, the auto industry does an outstanding job of finding ways to add profit, whether it's through F&I, whether it's through service. So we got a little bit of background noise from somebody. I got you. I think it's you, Wes. I muted you temporarily. All right. So, but when you really break down business and growth, and I asked this earlier on LinkedIn, I said, what is your strategy for growth? Because there's really only 3 ways to grow any business. 1, we increase the amount of people we sell to. 2, we increase how often they buy, increase the frequency. And then 3, and I'm stealing this from a mentor of mine, Mr. Jay Abraham, but on the third one, how do we increase the average transaction value? How do I take that simple sale and take it in service that might be normally they came in for $100 RO. How do I turn it into 200, 300? How do I get the most out of every opportunity, every transaction? And that's what we're going to talk about today. Mark Giron, who is a consistent guest on the show, he talks a lot about making sure that we focus or spend a lot of our time focusing on the business, not necessarily in it. And I think if you're able, when you're looking at these three things, the three ways to grow any business, it's definitely an approach of working on it. With that, let's bring in and kind of turn this over to Arnold, Greg, and Wes. And guys, if you guys could first maybe just introduce yourselves. We'll start. I'm looking at you on my screen. I don't know if it's the same on everybody else's, but Arnold, we'll start with you. If you could give us a little bit about your background and experience and share with everybody kind of your origin story, just so everybody's up to speed with you.
Yeah, you bet. I'm the president and CEO of Petro Company. We're an automotive chemical company, so we manufacture products that go in the service drive. We tell people everything. We make everything from the bulk oil to the chemicals to the maintenance products to the shop supplies. Not only on the back end, we also do nitrogen. We do F&I products, paints, sealant, fabric protector, big thing now, ceramic glass. So I've been in the automotive chemical business for 28 years, almost 29. Will be 29 years last year. In fact, had hair when I started, no gray hair. Now I have no hair, and the little hair that I have left is gray. But been in it for 29 years. Been part of Petra for 10 years. We've been around for 10 years now. Fastest growing chemical company in the U.S. We're in 36 countries. We have about 1,000 people selling Petra worldwide.
Nice. All right, Greg, how about you?
Well, I have been going at this now for 29 years. I started as a salesperson that just looking for a job, and then here I am 29 years later with a Honda store that this month celebrates its 25th anniversary in Waco. And right next door, 5 years ago, we acquired the Hyundai store. And so I'm one of those stories that I worked for a guy that saw something in somebody, and he helped me get in the business, and that's Mr. Keith Orr. And he's done that for a lot. I was lucky to be the first to test case, and it's worked out well. As I said, our 25th anniversary this year, but we've done a lot of fun things here. I've had a lot of great times in the car business. Spent my time on regional boards, NDAB, all that fun stuff, and I still see the best thing about the car business is we learn every day something new, even after 29 years.
Well, we definitely have in 2020. So Wesley,
let me add to that. He still has his hair, and he's also a great golfer.
Well, time out. And he's a great dealer, so that's confusing to me. How you must have been a great golfer before you got into auto.
That would be correct. That's how college got paid for, but the car business hurt my handicap. Let's say that.
All right. So Wesley, you were muted there. Let's unmute you, and then you've got let's see here. All right, there you go. All right, fire away, Wes. What's your story?
So my name's Wesley Spence. I'm part owner with Waxahachie Autoplex, a Ford store, Dodge Chrysler Jeep, and a Nissan store. It's about 37 acres, big fixed operation. We run about 1.3, 1.4 on average fixed gross each month. Pretty large body shop. But I've been in the business for like 30 years. I came up through the fixed side. I was a fixed op director for a big organization out of Houston for years. That's where Arnold and I met when he was one of the big wigs at Wins and back in the day. And known Arnold for many, many years. I've known Greg for years. Also worked with Keith Orr and them and their group for a couple of years, and a good group. Greg is a good dealer. I'm a shitty golfer, or a crappy golfer. I shouldn't say the word shitty, but anyway, so makes me a little better dealer. So I'm a 17 handicap, Greg, so we'll go play.
Are you a real 17? Are you a real 17, or are you a 12 that just says 17?
I can smell the bag routine from a mile away. Absolutely.
So when you're on at a country club, they keep it for you because there's a lot of little gambling going on. So my course handicap is actually 17, but I'm a 14.3. You can see, Greg. Anyway, but no, it's a good business. It's been fun. I've owned a few body shops in my career. I've been a police officer, so I've kind of been it all over. But the sales side on the service drive and increasing your ROs, dollars per RO, and everything is extremely important. And And I'm sure that's what we'll talk about today. So.
Yeah.
I'll tell you with Wes, we've known each other, like you said, for a long time. I was actually out in the field when he was a service director, and that's how we met. And in the 29 years that I've been in this thing, we both have grown in this industry, and we've known each other for a long time. In fact, many Petra ideas we talked in his living room. So a very good relationship with Wes.
Those are the ties that bind.
Yeah.
I love that too, because, we do this fourth box, which kind of spins off of this. And what makes it so fun, and Arnold, you've been on that. And so is that we just sit around, we do bourbon, we do cigars, and then we just start talking business. And then the ideas start kind of just, they kind of come out of nowhere, and it's just a fun hour or two. But so Greg, Arnold says that you are the man when it comes to getting every penny out of every possible transaction, especially through service. So listen, as dealers, we've all really had some great months here through COVID. Things are returning, but a lot of us might have learned some things through this process that we're going to keep all the way through, and we found better ways to operate. And I'm not necessarily asking you to focus in on any of that, but what are some of the biggest opportunities that have helped you when it comes to increasing like transaction value over this, not just this year, but over the years?
Well, I did not come up in the service lane. I came up all sales, and when I became a dealer, I had to dig into service. And the one thing that I've never forgotten that you should never forget is if you don't know what your effective labor rate is every day when you walk in the door, you have no idea what your people are doing. And if they're not, they can be selling and selling and selling, but you look down and they're giving it away and you just don't know it. So the first thing I would tell any new person, any person that asks me, what's the very first thing on your list you look at every day, is to see if my people are being effective with the dollars that they are selling the customers, or are they discounting too much, right? But like I told you last month, before we got on, we had a difference of 14 customer pay ROs this October versus last, but we had a $30,000 increase in sales. And that came from us revamping and realizing that we didn't have enough people in the service drive. You know what? Especially during COVID back in 08, 09, when that hit, we started cutting those expenses, and the first thing you would do is start cutting people. I figured out through this that, you know what? People are more important. I can cut the expenses, but having enough people that have enough time to spend with each customer is one of the biggest places we've seen an increase in our transaction amount in service.
That's awesome. Wes, what have you guys been doing here recently, or say over the last 12 months, go back prior to COVID, that's really helped you from an increasing transaction value?
Well, Greg really hit it right on the nail. I mean, if you got your advisors out there writing more than 15 ROs a day, you're really probably costing yourself business because Greg is right. You have to have time. You got to spend with those customers, and you can't just do a quick write-up and send them back to the waiting room or send them on their way, put their vehicle in the dark hole. You need to do the walk around. You got to pop the hood. You got to talk to them. You got to let them know what's right with their vehicle right in front of them while they're standing on the drive. Oh, this looks good, sir. This looks, we're going to address this. I'm going to check your alignment for you, sir. Don't tell me you're going to charge them. Just check it and see if you got the tires wearing, things like that. There's a little upsell that load their lips that, you're about to call them and say, yeah, your alignment was out. But these small things, and a guy that's writing 25 ROs a day, he might be your number one guy, but he's probably your effective labor rate and everything else, like Greg said, is probably less than anybody else because he's writing them too quick, and he's not doing a good job with your customers, and they're probably not as happy as you think they are.
Yeah, and so Arnold, you've described both Greg and Wes as work guys that don't sit. They're not armchair guys. They are involved every day, all day, which is great to see because it's not always like that. So Arnold, you're exposed to a lot of different stores. And so, one of the reasons we wanted Greg and Wes on here is because, in my opinion, the audience wants to hear from dealers, right? But as a vendor, there is an advantage in the sense that you get exposed to a lot of best practices. And I know you guys do a lot of training down there and bring people in and bring in dealer events where you kind of expose everybody to a lot of this stuff. Where do you see either the biggest opportunities moving forward, and or where are we missing the boat? Where are we missing opportunities or wasting, maybe time and effort?
I think I've said this before. I think one of the biggest problems we have in my world when we're trying to sell to a dealer is that, like Greg mentioned, most dealers come up from the sales side. They don't know the service side. Greg is an exceptional owner, and he actually got involved in the service and found out what he needed to know, and kept those guys in line and asked for the matrix to make sure that they were making the monies and we're profitable on the fixed op sides, which every dealership should be, right? And ADA says, your dealership should really be 100% absorbed by the fixed op department. So Greg really got involved. But one of our biggest challenges is that dealerships typically hire somebody and let somebody handle it. And those guys are, and many of those guys are great. You can actually hire great people that know what they're doing. But I think every owner, like Greg, needs to double check, right? Trust and verify, the old Ronald Reagan thing. Wes had the advantage of coming from the fixed op side. So he became a dealer, but he grew from the fixed op side. So nobody can tell him anything. He knows every single part of that side, and he can call people out day and night. So just wanted to mention that, because that's one of our biggest challenges has always been trying to get a dealer to think a little bit more in the fixed op than just the sales side. Opportunities.
You mentioned discounts a while ago, and Arnold, I don't know everything, but sometimes I got to go out and double check, and I did about 6 months ago because I didn't think my gross profit, my return was what I thought it was. Sure enough, I've had guys, you need to go out there to your service drive and turn off all your discounts from your advisors. They're not allowed to discount anything unless it's signed off by a manager. And I thought that we had that in place. Sure enough, I went out there and it was in place, but then they got lackadaisical and found out that probably 3 of the guys was giving half of the stuff away and discounting parts as well. And I didn't think they had that ability, but they did. They figured it out.
Right.
Well, gentlemen, they normally do. I mean, we get what we tolerate in any business. And I love Greg's comment about the fact that he goes right to that one KPI that he monitors on a daily basis to see that he's getting every dollar in terms of revenue that he's entitled to on the labor side. It's critical. What other KPIs are you guys looking at besides ELR? Are you looking at your average dollars per repair order? Are you breaking it down on the parts and labor side? Are you taking a look at flat rate time per repair order?
Flat rate time, we're looking at dollars per RO. We're looking at, and we also match them up. We send out a report to all the advisors for all 3 stores, and we compare them. I take the bottom 5, and they got to come sit in my office for a review at the end of the month. The bottom 5 dollars per RO and hours per RO. We also monitor that, of course. But we want to find out who's really out there, And then we found out, of course, like I said, the discounts a while ago. We got a list of the people that have been discounting. And actually, man, they discounted probably about 15% of the normal gross, which is unbelievable. They were using the fleet discount. I didn't think they had access to, but they did. So they're pretty sneaky. So anything they can get away with, and some of it was even employee discounts. I couldn't believe that. But anyway, so we look at it all. I'm sure Greg does as well. That's how you measure your service drive. One other thing that I found, just because of this COVID, we try to find everything we could to cut expenses. If you would have told me we're losing money right now or the last 6 months, I'd have probably agreed with you. But it's just been unbelievable. I can't explain it all. But we went in from paying about $12,000 to $15,000 a month in each store, your credit card fees, and we came in contact with a company where now we actually make money on our fees. And I don't know if everybody's doing that, but check into it. You can actually make money. We have a sign, and people say, well, that's going to screw up your CSI. No, it doesn't. We have a sign out there. For one, my guys on the service drive, they handle all their cashier. You don't want a cashier delivering your customer, the $7, $8 an hour person delivering your customer when he just spent $1,200, and you want the advisor delivering them. So they do that when they have a sign at everybody's desk saying that you can pay with a credit card, but it's going to cost you a fee, 2% or whatever it is. And then if you want to pay with a debit card, it's free. So it gives them an opportunity. So it did save us a lot of money, probably 20, 30 grand a month in swing and just fees we were paying. So
that certainly adds up. We actually had a D-Win episode a few months back that we highlighted that specific opportunity, and dealers are just not aware of it the way that they should be, but it is an amazing opportunity to recapture a hidden expense in the dealership. I'm curious, guys, when you're looking at your KPIs and you see something that's off and you're going down and correcting it, I always like to go like one layer deeper and say, why, let's just say, for instance, we've got advisors that are discounting in the drive. I want to get to the root cause of why. Is it because they've been overwhelmed? Is there a systemic issue in terms of process that's causing us to have to provide a discount for the customer? Do they feel the pricing is too high? Are they afraid of buying every service that they're selling? What are some of the underlying things that you guys see with your advisors that causes that to happen?
Well, okay, I'll take a minute. My guys on the service drive, when we talk about the discounting problem, you get guys that are used to. I will just tell you that I am not a huge fan of discounts like bring your 10% coupon in.
Mm-hmm.
Because in my 29 years, I can't tell you how many service advisors I've caught making copies of those and sliding them under their keyboard.
100%. Sure.
One, they go, oh, hey, I got one because I couldn't. So they're unsure of themselves. I think it all has to do with training. The first thing that I make sure that we train our advisors on before they get out there is do not be ashamed of the pricing that we have. Do not be ashamed of your product. We're not selling a service that people doesn't need. Everything has an advantage. Everything has a monetary value to it. And so go out there and be sure of yourself when you're talking to the customer, because if you're hesitant with the customer's not going to buy anything from you. I just think over the years, I have seen my service advisors kill themselves over automatically thinking that they think that maybe the price is too high, or they think that customer can't afford that service.
I have the same
epidemic challenge.
I have the same meeting, Greg, with my guys. That I said, just because you have $1,000 in your bank account, don't assume that guy can't pay $2,000 to fix his car. I said, it's really a pain in the ass to bring your car, drop it off, get a loaner if you have one, or get somebody to pick you up, be without your car for a couple of days, and then you're afraid to tell them that it's going to cost you $2,000 and tell them what's wrong with the car. We have a lot of advisors. You're right. They don't want to tell them it's costing $2,000. They think it's a lot of money, and it is, but it's not your money. Let them decide. People bring their car here because they want to know what's wrong with it. Don't leave out one item. We're here to tell you what's wrong, sir. You decide if you want to fix it or not, and the repercussions it's going to cause if you don't get this repaired. People get more pissed off by not knowing what's wrong with their car. They leave here a month later. They call you back. Hey, this is wrong. Yeah, we noticed it before, but why don't you say something? They're more upset about that than you trying to decide that you're going to save their money.
And Scott, Greg and Wes both know part of our training is that we tell train advisors, don't make the decision for the customer. You tell the customer everything they need. The customer makes the decision. It's like a salesperson, right? Don't pick the color for the customer. Let the customer tell you what color they want. It doesn't matter. Give them what they want. Same thing in service. Don't make a decision for the customer. Tell them what they need. The customer is big enough to make that decision.
I'll tell you that one of those performance indicators that we used to not have that we really do now for us is every oil change ticket. I don't want to see any ticket that just has an oil change. People are coming in to get an oil change. The best way to know who's doing a good job in service is look at all of your tickets, have them lay them on your desk. Anything was just an oil change ticket. And let me tell you the thing that made the biggest difference in my store is when I took those away from the rotation and I got one service advisor and one to back up, that they were in charge of the oil change tickets and they knew that their livelihood, their pay plan depended on upselling those oil change tickets, because that's our biggest opportunity. Everybody's coming in and I just want an oil change. Well, that's what I would say. But then, like, I need someone that can go. Okay, well, air filters, cabin filters, battery checks, and that's another thing too. For an easy thing for you to do today, I have a big sign that has a picture of my battery check, my alignment check, and the 40-point inspection that we do. And I still use a cashier like Wesley, but I like his idea. But my cashier is instructed that when they come to the window to pay out, if all three of those things are not stapled to the RO, they're going to get embarrassed because they're not going to be able to check the customer out, because they're going to have to go to the service manager and explain to the customer why we didn't make sure we gave them a free battery check, a free alignment check, and do all the 40-point inspection and go over it with the customer. I think that's one big reason that our numbers have gone up on ROs so much, because now they're really having to do it, pay attention to it, and sell it. I mean, it's not hard to sell it when you've got it there in black and white.
So no, I like that, Greg. You also, if a lot of dealerships, they don't focus on looking like a service center. You gotta put it's kind of cheesy sometimes, but you got to put your tires out there let them know you sell tires. You can't just have them on the wall, one display. You got to put them out there like pulling into a Firestone. You got to have several racks of tires. Put your flags out there. Put your windshield wipers on the drive. Do some marketing, because people can't see it, can't feel it, don't touch it. They're not going to buy it. So like Arnold, then we came up with the menus. Arnold, probably 20 years ago. It's like the McDonald's theory. You used to walk into McDonald's. I want a Big Mac. Sir, would you like fries? Yes. Boop. Sir, would you like a Coke? Yes. Boop. Now you have the menu. I want a 30K. I want a 15K. Sir, you missed a 15K. Would you like to get up today on your 30K? And that's where Arnold has his success with the Petra and all the fluids and everything we use, because it's all scheduled in, and it's packaged right and price friendly. If you'll check, we're less expensive than your Firestones and your Goodyears, but people don't understand that. They think we're a whole lot more, and we charge more, and we really don't.
And now with COVID, they want to buy more from one place. They don't want to go to 2 or 3 places.
You're
so
right.
If they get the oil change and the tires and everything else at a dealership, they want to do it at one place. They don't want to be hopping around different places.
Greg, I tell you, our tires are cheaper than it is at the discount tire. We sell them for less, but people think that they can go to discount tire. And when we take your tires off, we're going to check your brakes for you. We're going to also check everything else. Discount tires, all they do is tires, period. They won't even tell you if your brakes are bad.
I finally had to tell my parts managers over the years, they want to charge for tires. And I go, look, if someone goes to discount for their tire price, then they're going to get to sell them brakes, and they're going to get to sell them alignment. Yep. Tires to me are a means to an end. They're a means to get on that car and be able to sell those things that we're missing because discount sold those tires and got to look at those things before we did.
Well, somewhere David Boyle has a big damn smile on his face. I can tell you that.
Well, how many dealerships do you think sell tires now? Because I still see some dealerships that don't sell tires.
That's a mistake.
That is a mistake. That's from people that think that there's no money in tires. Well, there might not be a whole lot of money in tires. There's not a whole lot of money in new car sales either. But
no, it's usually your parts manager who's lazy and don't want to screw with them.
Well said, Greg. Well said. We're not going to stop selling those, though.
So, go ahead, Jamil.
What's funny, though, is, Greg, you brought up something really good, is the things that people price shop, right? Which is tires and oil changes. You want to be competitive in, because those are the only probably few things they actually price shop. So you want to keep that impression that you're competitive in price. And then on the other items, they're not going to sit there and price shop it. They just feel like you're very not only convenient, but also very price competitive. So that's awesome. Hey, Greg, I had a question for you. We talked before we got on here about your mobile van, and you brought up a lot of ideas that you do with your mobile van with schools and so on. Can you go into a little bit of detail on that?
No, I think that was Wes.
That was Wes.
Wes, sorry, Wes.
That's all right.
That's all right. So
the boxes.
So we started the mobile van, and actually Nissan has a program now that we have a mobile van with them as well through Nissan only. But it's really to take care of the recalls out there. But so we started our own mobile van to handle all 3 of the products we sell: the Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ford, and the Nissan. And we kind of use it as more of a marketing tool at first, and then we found out it was really saving us a lot. And then COVID hit. And then next thing you know, we're getting 10, 15, 20 appointments a day. We're to the point we can't even handle it. We have a full-time technician certified master tech that runs the van, and he's pretty certified on almost all the products as well. He can even do the GM products, and if it was something he can't handle, he'll go out, he'll make a phone call to us, and we'll go pick up the customer's car and bring a loaner if we have one available. And it depends on, at that time, he kind of diagnoses it in their driveway to let us know, hey, this is probably a $1,200 to $1,500 job. So, it's worth giving them a loaner for a day or two, $25, $30 loaner. So, and that's helped us a lot with that. But a lot of quick stuff. Like I said, we go to see the teachers. We'll go in and schedule 10, 15 teachers in one day, do it right there on their parking lot. We get permission from the superintendent or the principal. We've been to a couple of the fleet stores. We've done it over Sundays when their trucks are down. We went out there one time with 4 technicians and knocked out like 30 or 40 vehicles. They had recalls, and we did a bunch of battery changes, just things we could do on the lot with our truck. We have a little jack system in there now that pops the car up immediately, just front or the back, and we can do some tire changes, some brakes, and right there on the spot. Can't do everything right there, but for the most part, we're not letting anybody go anywhere else. We're just trying to either retain them here, or if what we can't do, we'll just do on their driveway. So
Wesley,
just to tell you, a lot of the stuff he's doing on that van is a lot of the maintenance stuff, which is a high gross margin, customer pay area. So a lot of the stuff that are happening there, very high margin.
We don't mark it up as much. We do have a little bit of different labor rate, but people, we found they're so happy to pay it. They don't have to worry about coming to the dealership, dropping their car, finding a loaner. They'll pay that extra $20, $30. I mean, and we try not to rape them, but it costs us to have that van going, and we got to make a little bit off of it.
So Wesley, I know when we talk to dealers and we bring up mobile vans, so you have one van, correct?
We have 2.
You have 2. Are they both profitable? Because that's always the thing that dealers say, oh, they don't make any money off of them.
So the first 3 or 4 months, they were not profitable. But when COVID hit, they became profitable, and they're profitable now. And we're just the feedback we get from the marketing standpoint from our fleet companies to go out and handle their recalls without their trucks going down. It's pretty big. When you're at Ford and Dodge, a lot of vehicles like their Ram trucks, these guys really appreciate it, and they don't go anywhere else. So for us, it's become a retention marketing tool as well. Whether it be profitable or not, but yes, it is profitable. It's not killing it, guys. It's probably like your fleet business out there. Instead of a 70% retention, you're probably looking at maybe a 40%, gross profit retention off of something like that.
So a couple things I want to get caught up from the chat. Way back, Scott Ray, when Wes, I think it was you were talking about the merchant services stuff, the different things you can do with the credit cards and how you eliminated those fees. So basically what you did was you weren't making money on it, but what you did was just to clarify, you got rid of the expense by having a lot of your customers decide to not pay with credit cards. So you were no longer just eating that credit card fee, correct? And that's where you were getting that $20,000 to $30,000 a month in extra profit.
Absolutely, and there is a small kickback with the credit card companies. You negotiate with them, and you get a kickback check at the end of the month.
Nice. So the question that Scott Ray had asked was, who are you using for that?
I'll get the name, and I'll
all right.
I'll get the full name for you and their contact.
All right, and then Sandy had brought up that we actually had a D-Win show on this, where we dedicated a whole hour to this. And it was a well-received episode or show, whatever we want to call it. We had dealer merchant services on there, so if that helps, Scott.
I just shot Scott a quick text. I'll hook him up.
All right.
No worries.
And then Mark Duran has made a few comments as well. It's always amazed me that more dealers don't pay more attention to fixed ops, given the GP on a dollar of P&L sales versus any other department. Sandy, you like to say a lot of times, every dollar is worth 5 to 6 in service compared to the front. I agree with that.
5 to 6 to 7 times as much in terms of gross profit retention.
And then our friend, the subprime hero, Frederick, he checked in with us. He made some good comments. But Mark also followed up on the van with the mobile thing. He's got a dealer actually doing big business with a van on recalls and maintenance by going to the rental agencies. Are you doing any of that, Wes?
Yeah, we are. We also we give the because of the franchise laws and the territory issues. We had to get permission from these manufacturers, but nobody else raised their hand, so they gave it to us. We go out to the auctions, and we knock out all their recalls. We did 120 auctions. 120 vehicles one day at an auction with recalls from 3 different products, and the ones you can do on premise, of course. But they were really happy. And then they asked us to come out and do some other things under warranty. Now we're getting calls from these auctions that are local here in Dallas. Greg will tell you, we have 6 or 7 auctions here, and we hit them all. We do have permission from our franchise because we said, hey, if they don't want to do it, your dealer down the street, because they can't, we will. And they said you could do it. So.
And then the final thing, and I'll turn this back over to Arnold, Jamil, and Sandy. Wes, you had brought up McDonald's, and as the only person on this panel that I'm willing to bet that's actually worked and been trained by McDonald's, I will tell you that they also teach. You did not work at McDonald's, Sandy.
I've eaten a couple of Big Macs, though.
I have worked at McDonald's, and so they do a great job of teaching you the upsell. So in addition to not only
how long was your career at McDonald's?
It was 2 weeks, Jamil, and that's a true story. I was phenomenal. I'll already tell you something.
That's good.
It is nonstop work at McDonald's. I'm sitting there trying to learn how to grill these burgers. You take a 10-second off, buddy. Those managers are right on you. Hey, when you're in between flips, you need to be wiping this down. And there's never a rest. And so, but
Ray
here's
Kroc
where my
would have been a
career
great
ended.
dealer.
Here's where my career ended at McDonald's, and I have no problem saying this publicly. When they took me and showed me how to clean the restrooms, I said, "Oh no, I'm out."
Come on, buddy. That was my first
I'm out of here.
ever in a dealership was cleaning the bathrooms.
Yeah,
First job ever.
But you know what? Their training program is great.
It is.
Outstanding.
It's phenomenal. The work ethic is unbelievable. But where I was wrong with this,
2-week training program.
they just with the 2-week wonder out of it. I'm going to show that. So what's funny is, though, not only do they say from a cross sell, you gave the example of the cross sell. They buy a burger. Do you want fries with that? They also do this. Listen, if you ordered a burger and fries, their immediate response is also the upsell. Do you want to supersize those fries? Do you want to supersize that Coke? Do you want to So they go for the cross sell and they always go for the upsell as well. So it's a good little example of, especially in service, what other things can we tack on and add on there to be able to maximize our opportunities?
So, Scott, I want to go back to something that both Greg and Wes talked about with respect to their advisors making decisions for the customers. And part of the training that we do with service advisors on a regular basis is to make sure they understand that the first no that they hear should never come out of their mouth or inside the 6-inch space in their own ears. The first no should come from the customer. And then that's our opportunity to start selling, because nothing happens in terms of selling until the customer says no. Right? So, when we're not making decisions for the customer, we're providing them with opportunities to do business with us until they tell us, hey, that's it, I've had enough. And then we start to sell from there. You see the dollars per repair order certainly climb.
So,
following the McDonald model, I don't know if you guys know this, but it was 70 to 72% increase in sales when they started the model of asking customers for upsells. So they taught 15 and 16-year-old kids how to say, would you like? And would you like created 70 to 72% more increase in revenues without adding another building. And we do that with dealerships too. These guys do it as well. The good, better, best, right? The oil change. Customer comes in and says, I want an oil change. Do you want a good, better, or best? And it's the same thing, 70% pick down the middle. It's like when you go buy a TV. You don't buy the most expensive. You don't buy the cheapest. It's somewhere in the middle. And all you have to do
I think, to your point, Arnold, Wes had a great comment before when he talked about the fact that you've got to merchandise in your service drive and make it look like a place that people want to do business. Don't keep it a secret that you do tires, that you do wiper blades, that you do batteries, that you do cabin air filters. I mean, those opportunities are where we're able to drive up your average dollars per repair order very, very quickly because they're getting those products elsewhere. If they weren't, then Advanced Auto Parts and Mr. Tire and Tire Discount, they wouldn't exist. I saw a stat today. I was on a webinar earlier today, and it said that the total revenue for aftermarket service was $485 billion, 2018, and the dealers got a 24% share of that. So we have got a lot of room to improve for sure.
And you guys brought up tires, and I know if Dave Boyle's watching, he's sitting here thinking, "Yeah, good. I'm glad they're bringing that up."
Yes,
we did a
is.
whole episode on that as well. And the reason I'm bringing this, some just absolutely escaped me. The reason I was bringing this up, though, you guys talk about, and Arnold, you touched on it a little bit with the menus, is you guys are 100% right. The people do not know that most dealers sell tires. It's not their first. It is not the first thing that comes into your mind when you think, I need a new tire, I need to call my dealer. And most of the time it's because we haven't merchandised them properly or even let customers know that. And so when you, he explained he had a lot of research on a fourth box event we did in Louisville. And really one of the first defection points that customers have is on tires. And most of those tend to align very similar or very close to when the warranty ends up expiring.
Correct.
And so are you both doing tires?
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right.
In fact, we went full. I had to create room and build room because not only do you have to sell the tires, you have to have the tires.
Yep.
If you think that you can sell tires without 40, 50, 100 of them in inventory, you are mistakenly wrong.
So if this show is all about upselling and cross-selling, let's talk about that, because we've all said we're willing to not have to be able to make a fortune on the tires. It's more about retaining customers and keeping them from defecting and things such as that. Jamil brought up the idea, was glad that you guys are competitively priced on that. But how many times and Dave Boyle brings this up a lot, how many times have you sold tires and not sold the alignment?
That should never happen.
No.
Correct.
Should never happen.
You also get probably about a 50% brake penetration, and or next appointment, sir, your brakes are a little weak. We'll look at it. If you don't get them done today, we'll get you in next time. And you set the appointment prior. So, just you're setting yourself up for the next sale. And that's what we teach our guys.
That's
Absolutely.
Right.
You let the vehicle talk to the advisor and the advisor deliver that information to the customer. That's the most effective way for us, to end up driving those upsell opportunities. One of the other things that David Boyle said, Scott, and it's important to note, is you don't have to stock every tire. Okay. He said there's only between 9 and 14 or 15 SKUs that you really need to carry in inventory at any time, based on the sell patterns that you have on the front end of your business. And I think they do an effective job in helping dealers identify that. ATD or Dealer Tire can also help you do that. But I agree with what Greg said. You have to have the inventory there if you want to do the business, and you have to be committed to tires as a means to an ends. I think that's the words that you used before.
So, hey, Wesley, I got a question for you. You have a FCA store, correct?
Yes.
All right. So they're running the buy 3, get 1 for $1. Are you using that promotion across your other brands? Because it doesn't really matter.
We are. We do it. We actually ordered the extra posters. They gave us some, and we put the banners out for all the stores, and we pretty much run those promotions because it's not about the tires. I'll be lucky if I make $5 a tire, but like I said earlier, it's usually your parts manager that gives you the resistance. They don't want to deal with the tires. They don't want to sell them. It's a pain in the rear, but they don't realize. A lot of them don't realize that it's a lot of upsells out there. So you're like your alignments, your brakes, and everything else.
Well, think about these standalone businesses, and what do they really do? They do oil changes, they do tires, they do brakes, they do alignments. That is their bread and butter, right? And so I think David brought it up. One of his clients is a non-auto. It's an independent national chain. This is, public $1 billion company. And he said he was out. I love this story because I really want all dealers to hear this message and recognize the importance of it and the opportunity. he said he was out to dinner with him, and he says, you know, what is one of the things that really scares you or makes you nervous over the next 5 to 10 years? And the guy says, the dealers. And David was shocked. He's like, really? Why do you say that? And he goes, because the day they wake up is the day that my business goes down in a big way. And the reason, and I'm using my own words here, but he said, and David says, why is that? He goes, because overall, they have much better facilities. For the most part, they have a bigger budget per community than we do. They have, it's easier for them to get better employees. So all the advantages that dealers tend to have, I think there's big opportunities here if we wake up and kind of really focus in on these things. And it is, if tires are such a key moment for defection, and owner retention and customer loyalty is so important and one of our biggest challenges, then it has to become a focal point.
Well, I'm going to go back to something that Greg said before in terms of the adjustment that he made with respect to personnel expense and how he viewed the importance of having quality people in a position that could actually drive revenue. What I see very often happen is we talk about people being our greatest asset and our greatest liability, the most expensive, asset that we have, if you will, or excuse me, the highest expense that we have. And to your point, every time we see folks make decisions about personnel expense, they're doing it based on the current revenue levels that they're achieving, as opposed to if we were to add 1 or 2 more key people in a position that could facilitate higher production, what would the revenue be then? And I think people would be surprised when they took a look at what the actual net bottom line impact would be by having somebody in a productive position driving additional revenue. You're going to more than pay for itself, very often 10 to 20 times over what the expense for having that person on staff is.
Well, you also, you mentioned it earlier, how just by training the McDonald's guys, the kids, the 16-year-old kids, you got to do the same thing for your service advisors out there, because you have a lot of millennials these days that are just afraid to talk to people. They're nervous and they don't want to, and they're not comfortable with it. You have to take a company like Arnold's, like Petra. They come in and they set your menus, and I'm giving you a little promotion here, Arnold, but they come in, they train our guys. They really do. They train our technicians. They set the menus up. They put the effective labor rate to exactly where it needs to be at on your fast moving products. And that's your upsell. And I'll usually, my advisors walk out, sir, you want to get caught up today? You miss this one, you miss that one. And it's just really simple. And if you don't have that on your drive, you're not going to upsell. Your customer pay is not going to be strong. So you got to have this, and whether it be a Petra or whatever. But I mean, I found these guys just to be phenomenal for us in all my stores. I've had them for many years.
Well, that's the greatest investment. I agree with you, Wes. We're investing in developing the confidence through the skill set development of our advisors. They're the people that touch more of our customers than anybody else in the dealership. Yet, very often what I see out in the marketplace is a lack of fundamental attention and focus on developing them as the key people in driving revenue in our dealerships.
I want to say one thing that has two ways to tackle it, and that is people are visual. And if you still have a service department that has computers on desk and they're not operating in iPads or some kind of mobile and out on the lot, that you're way below the curve, and you're never going to get your dollars per RO where you need it.
Great point.
Your people are going to stand behind that computer until you make it go away and get them.
Great point.
Number 2, we have a lot of point of sale material. And I sat down with Arnold. I've been doing this for a long time, and I love to be his guinea pig and try things. But the entire window set of my walking into my dealership is all of the things that we offer of Arnold's products, which to me are increases for my ROs. Like this is how I get that dollar RO increase, is by some of the things that Arnold offers us with his training. But I want to go back to what he said earlier, the good, better, best. You can offer a customer good, better, best, and you might get the middle or probably the first, but we have them visually, what you get, the difference for what you pay, how that is. And when you can go and visually show someone, they'll pick that right hand best 50% of the time. And if you sell them a flush, a brake flush, or evap, if you have something that tells them what it does for them and what they're getting for it, you have a whole lot better opportunity of selling that than to just tell them what it's going to do and they really can't see it. I have learned in service to sell service, people are visual.
It's called show and tell, Greg, and you're spot on. We've got to have visual tools and resources and assets at our disposal that are easy for them to use and easy for our customers to understand. I'm going to reference Jay Abraham again. I think he was the one that said, "Don't make people think." Let's show it to them so that they can make a decision easily. And I'm going to give Arnold a little prop, because Arnold, what you've done with your business is exactly what you are teaching your dealer clients to do, because you don't just sell one product. You're selling bulk oil, you're selling additives, you're selling shop supplies, etc. You're doing exactly the same merchandising that you're teaching your dealer clients to do. And obviously you make a great partner, as evidenced by what your two clients are saying right now. So kudos to you.
Oh, thanks. And you're right. I mean, I think we try to touch a dealership everywhere we can, right? But I want to say something about Greg and Wes here about service advisors, because sometimes dealerships get shy on hiring service advisors, right? If you have too little service advisors, they are no longer service advisors. They are order takers, because there's just not enough time to sell. So you have all these cars and all they're doing is, you want an oil change? They don't talk about good, better, best. Oil change. You need this? Fine. Forget the tires. I got to go to the next guy. So if you don't hire enough service advisors, they will become order takers, and you will lose money. You won't make the money that you should make in the service department.
So, hey, Arnold, I had a question. So you do a fantastic job where you bring dealers in once a quarter, correct? And do a big training and all that for your customers. What would be one or two things that the top dealers that you work with do that most dealerships don't do when it comes to upselling?
Well, I think these guys hit it. So show and tell is big. If it's on paper or on a tablet, if you're walking the car and showing customers, so like our electronic menus, you can actually hit a button that shows a video, right? Show and tell is big. If you can show your customers what you're talking about, even a bottle. Greg has, when he's talking about at the window, he's got all these beautiful petrol bottles up there. As soon as the customer drives up, there's an impression in their face. Then the advisor comes out and talks to them. Wes does something similar as well. So show and tell is big, number one. Number two is getting these guys not to be afraid to say, you need a $3,000 service. Your car has 60,000 miles, and here's everything you need. It's getting the service advisors to get over that hump of, oh my God, how am I going to tell this customer they need $3,000 worth of service? And we train them, and these guys are that way as well. Look, if the customer doesn't need nothing, they don't need anything. But if they need $3,000, they need $3,000 worth of work. And you got to show and tell and give them the problem and solution and why you need it. So I would say those two things are the things that non-successful dealerships do not do. They don't have the show and tell, and they haven't trained their people to overcome looking at somebody and saying, look, you need $3,000 worth of service. That's what you need.
Awesome. And I know earlier we were talking a little bit about discounts. We don't like doing discounts. How do you all market your after sales services? Let's say it's to inactive customers. If you're not utilizing discounts, is it a flat price that you're advertising that's very competitive? Walk us through how you all do that.
I'll take it here. Hang on. So we used to do the old, come in, we'll give you 10% off. But I have found then going back and trying to get those people that haven't been in for 24, 30, 36 months, that a dollar amount makes a difference. So I will send out to these people and send them a $25 voucher. Like, this is real money. I don't tell you that you can't use it on a $59 oil change. Sure you can. I need you to come in so that I can get my hands on your car, and then I can make my money back on whatever that $25 coupon cost me. But I have found that giving a dollar amount versus a percentage off is 100% difference in what you get, number of customers taking advantage.
I agree with that. We do you buy a car from us, new or used, you get a 2-year oil change voucher. So you get it in my F&I department, and it's designed for you to keep in the glove box. It has your VIN number on there. They have to present it at the service drive. Then we do that for retention purposes. And, but we're still running, $200 an average RO. So it hasn't affected by giving away a free oil change.
So outside of the dollar amount off, when you advertise your pricing, is it pretty much a fixed price, like $49.99 oil change? Is that kind of your pricing model? And do you guys advertise that on your website at all?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
You can't be afraid of, you can't, this day and age, you can't be afraid to, a $55 oil change, a $59 oil change, and everybody's going, well, they're getting $29 somewhere else. Well, we're in the days of synthetic oil and 7,500 mile oil changes, and you're getting less opportunities with these customers. Again, I go back to the training. You train your service advisors, you have enough that they can spend the quality time with a customer. They're going to be able to explain what you get for that $59, and it's actually better than $29 every 3,000 miles, and it's going to help your car last longer, and it's going to make a difference. And by the way, it's going to extend the life of your car, just all these things. But again, training and time and the number of service personnel. Everybody needs to look at the number of service advisors they got. Like Weston said, if they're writing more than 15 tickets a day, you're like burning up in the sales floor.
Oh my God, Greg, I'm going to fly down and give you a bro hug, because that is something that I harp on with clients on a regular basis. Is when I see advisors handling 25, 30 repair orders a day, and then I take a look at what the corresponding CSE or CSI scores are, I always see a direct correlation in low CSI and low dollars per repair order when I see them handling more than 15.
Because they became an order.
That's 100% right. Yeah.
So nobody's happy. Nobody's making money. It's not good.
Look, what would you say is the quality amount of time that an advisor would spend with or invest with a client at write-up?
For me,
5 minutes or so, at least.
Yeah, I was going to say that 5 to 10 minutes. I think that you don't want to keep them all day, but you can't. 2 minutes can't get somewhere between 5 and 10 minutes, and it needs to be at the car. It does not need to be inside the dealership, standing there with your computer. You need to be having that quality time, because they've got to go to, they've got places to be, and they've got things to do. So you need to get out to the car first, meet that customer out at the car, and spend that 5 to 10 minutes at the vehicle.
Greg, I make my guys pop every single hood, and when I catch them not, they know they're in trouble. But you pop every hood. It just lets that customer think that you give a damn about them and their car, and you're looking the whole time you're talking to them, and with your iPad, because Greg's right. If you don't have that system right now in your shops, you're losing money, and you're actually costing yourself a lot of time as well. But you got to act like you care. You're walking around their car. You're looking under the hood. Even if you don't know what you're looking at as an advisor, just get out there and talk to the customer. Look, your battery's not corroded. It looks good today, sir. I'll check on these other things you're talking about. They think you care. Instead of just calling them back 4 hours later and then trying to sell them $3,000 over the phone, they know you've really cared. You've checked it out. You give a damn about their car. You didn't go to the black hole and you call them 4 hours later. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
No, you're right.
Yeah, I think there's
Hey, just so you know, the average is the right amount is 10 minutes. So you want to spend 10 minutes at the car with the customer.
Yeah, we preach 8 to 12 minutes depending on the customer you have in front of you, because sometimes we have older folks that you tend to have to spend a little bit more quality time with. But I'm happy to hear the numbers that I'm hearing. I have another quick question. I think, what I see is the lowest hanging fruit in most service drives right now. And Greg, you touch upon it with popping the hood. I also want them popping the glove box and pulling out cabin air filters and showing it right to the customer right then and there, whether it's your valet or your porter doing it or the advisor. I think we're missing huge opportunities with cabin air filters, especially right now when COVID-19 is an issue for folks. And so I just would encourage dealers to make sure that they've got a process and a protocol in place that affords us the opportunity to make sure we pick that low-hanging fruit.
Yeah. And
Agreed.
Sandy,
I'm sure if everybody agrees.
No, absolutely.
Yeah,
I agree.
All right, guys, we're coming up on an hour. So, and Jamil's got an important call, so we've got to make sure that he has told me. So we really appreciate this, guys, because this has been a really good discussion. I love it when, especially when we get dealers on here and they just start, you guys were sharing ideas and bouncing things off of each other left
Great
and right.
content.
That was awesome. And, you know, we had Adam Aarons coming in here a lot and throwing in his 2 cents. And if you guys have not had a chance to meet him or see what he's done, and he's a very successful dealer up in the Northeast. I think he's got 4 rooftops. He might be working on 5. But an incredible operator. So if you have an opportunity to reach out to him on any of the social networks, I would do that. He does a great job also inviting dealers into his stores, and he wants to visit other stores as well and share best practices. So Arnold, I know you do an outstanding job with the training. If the one thing that was a common theme throughout all of this, none of this stuff, all these ideas are great, but if we can't execute them and implement them into our processes, and a lot of your training, Arnold, I know talks about that and goes over some of that. So kudos to you with what you guys are doing down there. And you've got 2 examples here of people that basically were singing your praises in terms of what you've been able to help them with. So that's outstanding. Is there anything, guys, before we close that you think needs to be said? Good to go?
I think I'll say one more thing, and Greg and Wes can jump in here before we hang up. Because we talk about COVID, right? Everybody get a little. We understand COVID is bad. It's a virus, and all the bad stuff that comes with it. But through this COVID time, the opportunity to build a relationship with the customer, not just sell things to them, but build a relationship with the customer has been incredible. Sales are up in most service departments that have the right team and they're trained and selling the right items. I think Greg and Wes would back me up on this. Service department sales right now through COVID better than ever before. I mean, it's really good. So it's obviously a bad thing, but there's a good thing that's happening, which is allowing dealerships to build a relationship with customers, I think, like never before.
Amen.
All right. I have one final question. Do both of you guys drink bourbon? Two questions. Do either of you do bourbon?
I quit drinking yesterday because I had too much. So
he's our guy. Right
yesterday you drank
bourbon. Right on Wes.
So, Scott, the little known fact is I own a bar.
There we go.
Oh, wait a minute. So you might have access to the Pappies, probably better than I got.
Oh boy, you got the Pappy's Van. I'll take a bottle of the Pappy Van Winkle, Greg, if you come out.
12 are on the bar. And my personal favorite is Garrison Brothers out of Hyde, Texas.
Yeah.
The first legally produced bourbon in Texas, and it's incredible.
Scott,
how we
Scott, you have a special recipe for Texas bourbon, don't you?
Well, we've got any bourbon. So I'm in Louisville. So any bourbon that's not made here or in Kentucky, I should say, I'm able to replicate it very quick. So what I'm able to do is I take I'll take a bottle. This is the bourbon. I'll take a bottle, all right, and I pour it in a glass. And if there's a spot, but the sun's got to be just right. And I go out to the backyard and I grab a little dirt and I just sprinkle it in there. And then I get some of this other bourbon outside of Kentucky, and it's perfect.
By the way, he makes scotch that way. He makes what else? Right? Irish whiskey, same way.
I could take bourbon and make it into anything
Absolutely.
by just that same recipe. But all right, so bourbon's a check. What about cigars?
No, not for me.
No cigar, Greg. Wes?
Yes, I've got a humidor at home, and I don't inhale, but on a lot of things. But I definitely smoke a cigar every once in a while.
All right. The good news is we need people that are great at business, enjoy a cigar, do bourbon, but you don't need to check all 3 boxes. We just need any combination of 2 of the 3. And so that's good to hear. So we do this thing called the 4th box, and we're going to reach out. Arnold will tell you a little bit about it. It's awesome. It's a good time. But we'll reach out to you guys and see if we get on there. It'll be the funnest hour and a half of your week. We just basically just shoot the shit. We talk business, and by the end of it, we're like, man, that's a lot of good ideas.
Yeah.
So,
Sounds like we need to go play golf somewhere and drink some bourbon.
yeah, and we could smoke cigars. Then that too. That's perfect. So, all right, guys, we're going to close this out. We will play our closing video here. I really appreciate you guys coming on here and giving us your time and sharing your experience and everything.
Thank you, gentlemen. Much appreciated.
Outstanding.
Thank you guys.
So we'll close it out, and we'll talk to everybody soon. Thank you.
All right.
All right, guys, step up to stand out, and we're out.
Thanks, Greg. Thank you, Wes.
Hey, listen, the fourth box isn't for everybody. It's only for those people that want to have fun, have a bourbon, smoke a cigar, and come up with absolutely ingenious business and brainstorming ideas.
I could do this all night long, guys.
I love to be a disruptor.
The first guy that gets that done is the winner.
You can't get any better than this. But don't worry, whatever happens in the fourth box stays in the box, baby.
This is some good shit. These notes are big.